start out talking about buttons from this catalog that I received from B.G. Lieberman. I'm not doing a commercial for them, but it's a very good supplier to start your career with. Other places or sources of buying buttons would be eBay. There's a lot of sites from China that you can buy buttons very relatively cheap. So this is just to get you going. You can research. Lieberman gives you a good source of what buttons look like and the sizes, so you can research on Google and find several suppliers. I recommend that you start out with a size 18 or a 19 and a size 13 for button downs, and you can get them in the pale yellow. You could buy some clear in the same sizes. I'll list a supplier for mother of pearl buttons, and I wouldn't invest in buying every color in the book. You know, I've done it, and I still have them today, and as you'll see here in the coming next tutorial, you can buy every color, and most of them you will never need. So only buy what you need. Buy especially the ones that you're going to use all the time. Very important. Lieberman used to have a buttonhole chart with all the different sizes for shirt making, and I think the time they charged $25. You might ask the salesman if they still have that chart you can buy. But you can pretty well tell from the PDF catalog that you can download, just like the one you're looking at now. So I would suggest you download the catalog, give you a good idea of what you're getting into. Only buy what you need to start out with. And let's continue with the tutorial. I'd like to start out by talking about some buttons. And as you previously heard, I've mentioned one supplier, but a lot of them can be bought on eBay. And if you research, you can find various suppliers all over. A lot of it's coming from China, which ends up on eBay. But in your download, I'll include a copy of this button gauge, which I've owned for over 30 years. I can't find them anywhere anymore. It was made by LaMode, and it was a handy little tool. They used to hand them out by the piles, and you know, I've got them somewhere here and there, but this is the only one I could find. But I photostated a copy, and you can go ahead and download it, cut it out, and then I would recommend that you put it on a piece of hardboard. You know, just either tape it or glue it on there, so you then put it on your wall. It comes in handy every once in a while. But getting back to the buttons, when you're first starting out, just buy what you need, and basically there are maybe 3 different types. Lieberman has these little boxes. They usually have, in this particular, they have a couple of gross, 144 buttons in a gross. There's a couple of gross here, and there's sort of a standard, kind of looks sort of like a pale yellow, or that most shirts have from the manufacturers. You've seen them all. You can check with Lieberman. They used to have a sample buttonhole card. You might ask, well, I think it was $25 at the time. Unfortunately, I mislocated mine. I don't know where it's at in among my supplies, but they had a buttonhole sample they would send to you for a charge, much like this board here, full of samples, and they would have the pricing and everything on them. So, but anyway, from Lieberman, you can buy boxes of the particular type. Normally, I used to buy packets a little bigger than this one here. This particular one here has 2 gross. It's a line 13. On this button gauge, you'll see the different lines. 40 lines is equal to 1 inch. And as a shirt maker or collar replacement specialist, you'll only be interested in line 20, 18, and 19, and even a 13 and 14 for a button down. And they have them. Here's a size 13 for button downs. And you can buy the bigger ones, size 18s and 19s. Let me get out a handful of. Now I'm going to lay out a bunch of buttons here. These buttons come from my bag of buttons that I've taken off shirts that were given to me, or from alterations, all different colors. I save them. And some of them are very thick. much like pearl buttons or mother of pearl buttons, all kinds of colors. There's a clear, white, all different types of colors. So this is what you'll end up collecting. If you stay in this business long enough, you'll probably have tons of them somewhere in a bag, much like I have. So that's what it's about. But from Lieberman, I usually buy plastic bags full of them, and they come in various colors. And these are one gross here, pinks. This is sort of a coffee color. This is sort of a ruby red. And you can see I've had these for years, and a lot of them you'll never need, but I'd say buy as you need. Don't order them unless you really need them to keep your expenses down. It's very important. In the past, in the beginning, I'm talking about 25 years ago, 30 years ago, there used to be a company called United Trim International, and they had large selections of buttons, and this was in Los Angeles. And I would buy boxes. This particular one had 20 gross, and they're clear. And you can see 30 years, I still have them. And so anyway, and they were pretty cheap at the time, so I've lost nothing as an investment. There's been many buttonhole companies, and most of them, this is a size 13. Here it is. There's 20 gross in there also, a different type of yellow, which you'll need. This will be your basic color for most shirts. And you'll have clear, and I'll list a website for mother of pearl. That's all you'll need. I would say stay with the light pale yellows in the beginning. Buy a size 18 or 19 or a size 13 for button downs. And that's all you'll need in the beginning. And I'm not doing a commercial for Lieberman, but they have a very large selection. They've been around a long time. That'll give you an idea of what to look for if you're going to research other sites. And it's always good to have 2 or 3 different suppliers, because you just don't know when you're going to need them. They go out of business, and you're scrapping to find them. But you'll find if you buy a few gross, if you buy 10 gross of this standard 18 and maybe 5 gross of the size 13, and then buy the same amount for clear, and maybe you'll need some black, like I have black here. I have 5 gross here that I use once in a while. So a lot of this will last you a lifetime in your career. So only buy what you're going to need temporarily, and don't spend what you don't have. Buy as you need, and buy those things that you use all the time. You don't need to be fancy and have 10,000 buttons on hand that you probably will never need. Sewing buttons onto cuffs, collars, or shirts. And the first method is to buy a commercial button sewer. As a starting individual, you probably won't want to invest, $1,500 in the beginning. The second method, which most of you have probably been doing already, is you have a special attachment to use on your home machine that basically does a zigzag stitch and sews buttons on. It's a slow method, but it gets the job done. And the third method, which I'm going to include a video that's done by an Italian lady that makes the most beautiful hand-sewn buttons very efficiently, and I would highly recommend that you do it. Now, normally I produce videos on just about every topic, but I don't think I could do a better job than this lady has done. It's beautifully done. I would highly recommend that you visually watch it and practice doing it, because you'll build speed. You'll be able to make 8 buttons on shirts very, very quickly. It's a beautiful method which I learned and I use myself. So watch the video, practice, and use it. Unless you have a commercial machine or you already have a method with your attachment for your home machine. So let's continue. Okay, before getting into the actual sewing of the buttons, I want to let you know some of the supplies that I use and how I prepare them so that I can actually sew the buttons on. And in the tutorial coming, they don't show any of this stuff. and so they kind of leave you in the dark. So this is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. But the tutorial that's coming next is excellent. First of all, I have a cotton strip of fabric, about 5 inches wide, and I fold it in half. I use natural silk. The particular company that I buy from is called bretex.com. The size I use is number 16, or it can have a number 70 on it. There's various manufacturers that make silk thread, so you can kind of research on Google. I have some beeswax. I don't buy any of this stuff from fabric. I buy fresh beeswax from eBay. They're a couple of dollars for a cube like this. I also use dual duty button and craft. This is 25% cotton over 75% polyester. This works excellent also. And the particular needles that I use are sharps, and I use a number 3 needle. I just found that it's easier for me to work. You may go to a 4 or a 5. Depending upon the thread you use. But the actual silk that I use comes on these cards. It used to be that it all came on spools, but now it's all going on cards. I don't know what they're doing now. It's either comes down to money and they put less on a card. I'm not quite sure what they do. But these are the supplies I use. You can search the internet. I'll put some links on there where I buy my stuff from. And the dual duty button craft, you can buy this at any fabric store. Comes in all various colors. Also, the silks come in various colors, and I have a slew of them, all colors: blue, white, green, yellow, brown. I have all the colors, and so that's the initial way to get set up. I use a small pair of scissors to cut my thread, and I'll use an iron here shortly to demonstrate how I prepare the thread on the wax. I've cut a length of the silk thread. This is number 16. It's a natural silk, and I'm using white. And this stuff is very, very nice for sewing on buttons and even for buttonholes. But the first thing I do is I get my beeswax and I'll run my thread on it, just like you're doing here. Hold my thumb on it and run it through. Go toward the middle, put my thumb on it, run it through several times. The whole length is how I do it. And that's why I like this fresh stuff, because the stuff you buy from the fabric stores, usually you don't know how long it's been there. And normally in the plastic container, it's very hard. It's basically dried out. I usually store mine in a plastic bag. Sometimes I put them in the refrigerator. They tend to dry out, and I'll have several pieces on hand at all times. But this is what I do. I run it through from end to end. And then what I do is I open up my fabric, and I'll lay my thread in it. Just like you're seeing here. And I'll close it. I usually use a spray bottle to spray it lightly. I'll put my hot iron on it. This ensures that wax is sort of penetrated the thread. I'll pull the end out, pull some more in there, a little bit more spray water, put a hot iron on it. I'll run the rest of it through, spray the water on it. And that's it. And so it's ready to penetrate through the needle. And the reason I use the 3 needle is because it's very easy to get it threaded. I find that I don't have to double up on it. This stuff's pretty strong. It's very easy. It won't twist on you, and that's why I waxed it. It's very strong silk. And in the next tutorial, you'll see the actual Italian lady sewing the buttons on there. It is an excellent, excellent tutorial on sewing on buttons. And even though she's speaking in Italian,
Ciao, oggi devo cucire un bottone su una camicia. Ho segnato il punto esatto con uno spillo. La prima cosa che devo fare è fare il nodo al filo. Lo arrotolo attorno all'indice Lo lascio scorrere e poi lo fermo con il medio. Passo l'ago dal retro della stoffa. Infilo il bottone. La prima cosa che farò sarà la travetta di sinistra. Faccio attenzione a non far ruotare il bottone. Ora piego la stoffa e tengo fermo il bottone con l'indice in posizione verticale. Per 8 volte faccio su e giù con il filo. Fatto, adesso devo passare alla parte destra. Anche in questo caso devo fare su e giù 8 volte. Ci siamo quasi, devo fermare il filo, 3 giri. Ora faccio 3 passaggi sotto. Fatto, non mi rimane che tagliare il filo. Alla prossima su Blogspot.